Midweek update from the state capitol in Jefferson City, Missouri. Fresh off of our extremely successful roast last night. Want to thank everybody that we were allowed to honor last night. Whole host of great folks. We had Mr. Rodriguez with the General Counsel's office, Jack Gamble, and my personal favorites, Hunter Thompson. We were able to honor. It was a lot of fun, a lot of great jokes. Let's break down the jokes. Okay. Consensus top person. The consensus number one was Travis Fitzwater. He was freaking hilarious. I gotta be honest with you. I don't know Travis Fitzwater that well. So maybe he's been this funny the whole time and I did not know it. Or maybe he just brought his comedy A game. It was next level incredible. He shot on Car Shield, shot on me, shot on Tilly. The cut was the Jorgen one. That was probably the sharpest cut. That was it. You know, the best jokes were the ones that we were talking up on the stage. We were watching the crowd, and the best jokes are the ones where everybody's like they're not sure whether to laugh or not. That's like the funniest possible roast joke. You get a big laugh. There are those types of roast jokes, but the best roast joke is the one where people like they go to laugh and they look around, see if anybody else is laughing. Fitzwater came in guns blazing with those. Lincoln's meaner than he is funny, but he did prop comedy. The prop comedy was outstanding. We'll talk about Bill Ivel running for governor here in a minute, but Lincoln busted open the jacket to show his Ivel for governor, and it was like paid for by gambling and MATA. I mean, it was 10 on 10. I'm just going to tell you. That was hilarious. Lincoln had better jokes than you would have thought, but really the prop comedy, prop comedy's dangerous, usually sucks. This was really funny. Rizzo was funny, but see, I think maybe Rizzo was funnier because I expect him to be funny. You know what I mean? I thought Rizzo was outstanding. Most of just good humor, then a couple deep cuts, which were great, about how they had a deal. This was going to start at 6, but something that blew up. It's kind of that's a Senate line I think that he may have heard before from Caleb. So then we had, who else we have? Nancy Giddens did not roast, so we talked about soybean products that you could make, including collagen. Then we had Razor, funny, very funny. But see, Greg's funny, so I sort of anticipated him being extremely funny. Thalhuber comes up and was like Thalhuber right into your veins. I mean, he was rolling. Thalhuber would tell the really funny joke, the kind of joke that went into, okay, it's funny, but it's like, oh, should I laugh at that funny, like in public? Like if you would have seen a video of him tell that joke, you'd been double over laughing. But you're like, oh shit, should I laugh at that or not? So Thalhuber busted a few of those. It was so funny. He would tell the first one, which I'm that very good person. So I thought they were hilariously funny personally. If this was a roast for me, I would just sit there and listen to Thalhuber just nuke people. So as we're going through our as the roast, so Thalhuber does great. But I mean, I knew he'd be good. If you knew him, you knew he'd be very good at this. Especially, I mean, you had like myself and Lincoln, Rizzo, a little darker humor maybe sometimes. So and a little more mean humor at other people's expense. So I expected to love Thalhuber, and I did. Razor, lots of comedy. He introduced himself as, "Yep, I'm the gay guy," which that's just funny. Razor had a good delivery. So after that, we had Ron Richard, Ron Richard could have read the phone book, and everyone was going to stand up. He got double standing ovations. In this town, we stand up and cheer Ron Richard when he comes up to talk. I will tell you this right now. If you don't know who he is, fucking Google it. Ron Richard. I'm from Southeast Missouri. We were always going to trade not to like Ron Richard, to be honest with you. But I saw there's two things that are undeniable. Without Ron Richard, that Capitol would have a lake underneath it. It would rot and fall in the river before anybody did anything. Ron Richard is when they put that Capitol back together. The damn thing was falling apart. In an era of term limits, nobody wanted to do anything that wasn't going to affect them right then. Ron Richard got that Capitol fixed. Before ARPA money and all this other stuff, Ron Richard did that. Like Joe Biden, where you can say, I did that. Ron Richard did that. Number two, when this state was tested like I've never seen, he stood up, and Ron Richard was a leader. Ron Richard, I mean, in a situation where he had defeated Mike Parson for floor leader, right? The relationship had improved a lot, but it was what it was. Neither had forgotten. Easier, I guess, to move on when you won, which Ron did, but still. Ron Richard was steadfast. Ron Richard never wavered. Ron Richard was going to do the right thing from the beginning. Ron Richard, I saw in that window in time what everybody else saw, I guess, for the last 20 years. I saw a man that when he walks into a room, you stand up because a man's man is there. And so Ron was like Henny Youngman joke book, but I don't care. Whatever Ron does, I'm just going to laugh. Because it's like, hey, over there, you got Bill Gamble flapping his gums. Here's he Dalton over there trying to unionize. I mean, he's just hilarious. I mean, Ron could read the phone book and he was great. Then I told you I had a surprise. I told you it was going to be great. I told you the surprise was going to be outstanding. The sign of knowledge does not fail, except for the Fitzwater thing, which I introduced him as the guy who broke my sign of knowledge. So I know which one that one is, and it's retired. It's put it way up in the top corner so it can't reach anymore. So don't worry. It was an aberration. Or as Caleb would say, well, that blew up. So I said, and then we brought up Stephen Weber, the person Caleb Grouden beat for the Senate. Really terrific guy. Stephen gets up and was just, he came up. And the thing about being in the surprise roaster is you just come in, maybe you hit me, and then you hit the person there. Quick in and out. The gals in Greenville High School used to nickname me. But he was in, Steve Weber, 10 on 10, hilarious. I mean, just couldn't have done. Came in, and here's the thing. I mean, he was a baller for showing up, right? You showed up at an event essentially honoring a guy that beat you. That's, first of all, you're the man. Number two, good humor about it. Okay, that means it's the subtle, it's the Don Draper moves that make you a big deal. And so anyhow, he was very funny. Then we brought up the real surprise 2.0, Bill Eigel. Yes, if you can imagine somebody to roast Caleb Grouden, it would have been Bill Eigel. Bill Eigel come up, fired off we call him it's not an algorithm, I don't know, where you like spell the word rhino with different words, like NASA or something like that. It was funny. Mostly just Bill having the self-awareness and having the self-confidence to come up and do that in that environment. I thought took a lot of balls, and I thought he did a good job. Then Caleb come up, and Caleb was just perfect. Caleb come up, and he just started firing the zingers. He gave as good as he got. I knew Caleb would, because Caleb's actually funny, and Caleb could deliver a line, and he kind of went through these things, and he took a little shot at everybody, but it was great. He took a shot at Bill. One of his jokes I thought was funny was he said, when Ron Richard, he said, well, Ron endorsed Bill White's opponent, Bill White won. Then Ron endorsed Bill White, Bill White lost. Well, I hope you'll endorse Bill Eigel for pro tem. And I thought that was a well shot line. There were several good ones. Then he closed with a message to the 30 and 30 folks, which is very appropriate. He did a heck of a job. So now back to work. You tell the guys here we haven't been working. We've been working our tails off. So back to work, special session. I mean, look, here's your breakdown. The House, I think, started at like $2 billion, whatever. The Senate started about $500 million, $550. The governor kind of came into this about 700, right? So the Senate's like, okay, I think they'll tell you they could probably get there. And that's where like the fiscal responsibility folks are like, well, okay, what do you want to cut? And of course, whoever's cutting things, and they'd be like, well, you haven't cut anything. Well, yeah, but when this federal money runs out, it's like a lottery winner. You've won the lottery. They're all broke 3 months later, 3 years later, because they spent all the money. So then you got, Dean Plocker was supposed to be there, but his Uber never arrived. All right, he got in it. I don't know. It was a weird deal. So whenever they sit down, they've been doing these Tuesday meetings. Started off with about 30 people. They've got it down to about 6 or 7. Much better. So the House people just start spitballing ideas, and I mean, I guess it's partly a brainstorming session, so maybe that's kind of what it's for. But some of the ideas I don't think they had done much math on yet. Um, and you've got a couple people here. I think Lincoln is going to be pretty serious on not screwing up the state's finances, not risking the AAA bond rating, so someone can have a Facebook post. I think the governor, let's be honest, probably will bend a little more to the House to get this done, if I had to guess. You've got the governor and Dean Plocker in the middle here. You know, the governor has, I'll tell you this, he has went and saw everyone, met with everybody. He's done all the talking. He's had the House Minority Leader in his office, was her crew a couple times even. You say what you will, even Democrats are like, well, I don't know if this is going to work. I don't know if this is a good idea, but he has not wasted his summer. He has done everything you could want. And I think, honestly, that's a big deal. When the governor's done some things he didn't want to do, he's went and made peace with folks that I'm not sure was on his to-do list of things he wanted to do this summer. And when the leader goes off and does that and sets the example, then I think it's easier to ask other folks to give in a little bit. And that's kind of where he's been at. And he's been doing a heck of a job of if nothing else, beating the ground and the feet and getting and turning in the hours to be successful. Now, moving on to the next thing, it's my take that you've got a speaker that wants $1 billion. I have no idea how he came to that number. I'm not sure that he does. I'm not sure that he's articulated that necessarily to folks. I'm sure he has an idea of how to come to that number. But they want $1 billion. Now, that would be obviously another $300 million more than the governor said the state could afford. And that's twice what the Senate wanted. And they wanted a lot more. But over time, they've just whittled this down from $2 billion to $1 billion. And so where they sit right now is a discussion over how are they going to break the logjam. Well, I'll tell you, you can kick cans down the road or whatever, but folks are going to expect a leader to show up with a plan tomorrow. And I'll tell you, so there's two arguments here. One argument is you throw a MASBA bill out in both chambers, right? Just introduce it, pass it, be done, right? Then I don't know if some of the tax cut people would let MASBA go now. It went from, this is just, do you want to know why governors don't come out and say what they want? Do you want to know, Jay Nixon, if you ever watched Jay Nixon, you would have taught you this. Do you know why governors don't come out and tell you things they really want? Because if they do, then they get hijacked like this MASBA thing. Then everybody thinks they've got something over on the governor and they can hold him hostage. That's why governors generally don't come out and say a bunch of things they specifically want, because this is what happens. Not every time, but by far most of the time. So it's an so there's two schools of thought here. One, they keep negotiating until they have a global deal. Okay, that could happen, sure. Number two, the Senate just says, okay, JV squad, we're going to take over here, and passes a bill, right? Passes the MASBA, passes this, and sends it to the House around, depending on if they can get that done, around $750 million. The governor gives them the okay, yeah, if this bill comes, I'm signing it, which I think he's going to do about whatever. He's going to veto it. If it's 6-year MASBA, I think the tax cut gets signed. So then the House, most people believe, will just take it and pass that bill. Now they'll complain, they'll put a bunch of stuff on Facebook, and they'll be very House about it, but they'll take it and pass it. Now I've never understood. This is a very W2 Republican mentality of, oh, well, we're gonna cut $1 billion over and over and over and over and over. So with all these things happening, why don't you just do a conference committee? You're talking about $1 billion. What's it cost? $25,000 or something to bring the legislature in today? It's a W2 Facebook Republican thinking that you would not craft your best bill in order to spend $1 billion over $25,000. I understand $20,000 is a lot of money, but $1 billion's a lot more. It's a rounding error on $1 billion. It's something that perfecting an extra paragraph of a bill probably makes sense here. So Maybe they go to conference. Something they don't do it in these special sessions very often. I've never understood that. If it's worth going a session over, go to actual session, mitigate your differences, and try to work them out. That greatly empowers a lot of other people when you do the conference community thing. So 2 schools of thought, they get a deal over the next week. Man, maybe, possible. If I had to just totally take a shot in the dark, probably not, but possible. Number 2, you break this down and you just have the Senate say, well, I mean, we got to roll, and that's it. And then they all take it or not. I bet you they take it. Or the extra option is, frankly, you just get Dean, Caleb, and Lincoln in a room, maybe Koenig, and you just work a deal out. And you say, okay, we're going to let this play on. You tell the governor, look, come January, there'll be some different folks around, and when there is, we're gonna work our deal. This is what's going to pass, and let's look at it this way. I don't see how Democrats can give you emergency clause votes, right? I don't get that. I don't know that I don't think the Senate Democrats view it as their thing to kill this bill or even filibuster it for a very long period of time. Because who's going to spend that $1 billion? The Republicans, on Republican stuff. So I don't know that the Senate Democrats view it as their responsibility to kill it. I also don't think they view it as their responsibility to give them emergency clause votes. That makes no sense to me, unless they get a large concession. Then you go to the House, where I guess if you didn't need emergency clause votes in the Senate, but in the House, why would they give you emergency clause votes? You have to do a deal with them, and we'll let that deal be held up. That's a complicated deal going to the next session. So if they don't, so let's say hypothetically, next week the Senate passes a bill. The week after the House comes in. So now we pull the old trusty calendar up. It's the 13th today. Let's say they come back on the 20th. That week the Senate passed something. The 27th they pass something. They come back October 4th for a technical, and they send that to the governor. The governor decides on October 5th, let's say October 6th, he wants to sign this thing. Big tour, big statewide thing. So 60 days from October 6th, right? So we're at a full 31 there, so the 5th. So we're into the first week of December before this thing becomes law. If option 3 happens, where Lincoln and Caleb and Dean just say, look, I mean, the guys went bankrupt. How are we going to keep this negotiation going? Then I think they go and just say, okay, what's the difference between December 5th and January 20th? Probably, frankly, not much. You can emergency clause it goes into effect that day, deal's done. If this goes, I mean, you start looking at this calendar, right? If there's no bill moving by next week, you're really getting into a time of, does it really make a difference? Why would you do a watered down compromise bill when you're talking about 3-4 weeks difference from when they come into session? I just don't. I don't know that. Right now, the speaker has cards. You have to deal with him, right? You get this into October. I mean, do you? Is it that big a deal to wait and just go whatever? You're like, okay, we'll call you back if we need you. Don't worry about the phone, and then just come in with Blocker and do the deal. But right now, you have Lincoln kind of being the K1 Republicans, the Reagan Republicans. Then you have your, I really don't know, Republicans who I guess their business sense tells them is the right thing to do. Then you have the governor and you have Dean Blocker that are trying to do a deal. So it's kind of like, yeah, Lincoln over here and Speaker over here, different numbers. I don't know that it's combative or anything. I think they manage money differently, right? And you can decide which one you think you would trust with your money, because you kind of are. But then you got the governor and Blocker in the middle trying to forge a compromise. My gut tells me, more Alexander, Hancock Amendment. I don't think it's good. I think you got to be careful with Hancock, but it's not going to be that big a deal because it's a lot of federal. I think there's some federal. Like you get some ways around it when it's federal money that's coming through. It's not as though the state's revenue is particularly high. It's that this federal money you got to spend, so you might as well spend it. Why not spend in California, Missouri, as the California with the kooks and weirdos? No offense, Caitlin. But at Montauk County seems like a better place than Los Angeles, even though I do love Caitlin. So anyhow, I will not be going to Olathe, Kansas for Ron DeSantis Saturday. However, I did love, and all of you don't lie, when everybody was doing all their COVID stuff, Vince Lampe and Ron DeSantis, the Butler County presiding commissioner, was like, we're not going to do that stuff here anymore. Ron DeSantis, Florida was packed for COVID. Packed. You couldn't have fit another person in Florida for COVID. So I did like that, but I don't like it enough to drive to Olathe, Kansas to see him. I probably would not drive to Holt Summit either. I think it's too soon to see. He's intriguing. And really, I'll be honest with you, it's almost like these school board candidates. I was for school board candidates that weren't from asking my son. Done. And if you pass that test, then I was like, okay, now tell me what you're going to do for the football team. Tell me what you're going to do for math and science, right? But if you didn't have enough sense coming out of the rain, I didn't want to hear your complex theories on stuff. Ron DeSantis, to me, passed the test. I mean, I personally think Trump is very compelling, had a great record to run on. He just never ran on the damn thing and hasn't talked about it much since. I mean, look, I'll be candid with you. I think Joe Biden's a good man. I don't think he's a bad person or anything. But I'm tired of swiping my card twice to fill my truck up, which was not my life under Trump. And two, you shouldn't have invaded his house. You should have figured a way not to. There's this deep state. Well, the deep state's slacking. They should never have to do that. One thing I'll say in Trump's favor, he did not prosecute Hillary Clinton. And I think even your most ardent Clinton defenders would say she probably did something that was wrong and probably could have been charged if they would have chose to charge her about convicting. Now, I would say by the same token, as a person that did admire President Trump, I think he's probably done something that could be charged. Convicted, I don't know. But if having these documents, and look, if they say bring me the damn documents, if it's the Army's documents and you got the damn documents, they say bring us our documents back. Well, bring the damn documents back. What the hell? They're not his. They're the American people's. They're the Army's. Give them back. I mean, this is the part about Trump I just don't understand. When Donald Trump should be standing out in front of a gas pump saying, what the hell? Every place in America has a billboard for Donald Trump in front of every gas station. He's off keeping documents. I don't get it. I just don't get it. But I mean, it's just the conundrum that is the situation. So we'll see. But no, DeSantis great. I mean, good for him endorsing Derek Schmidt. That's awesome. I think he has done everything he could do to put himself in a position to be top contender for the White House. I love his. I love Destin in 2020. And let's not lie. I don't care how liberal you are. I don't care how liberal you are down in your heart, which I think is a fine thing to be. You or someone you know slipped off to Florida during COVID and thought, finally, I'm free. In the back of your minds, in the heart of hearts, you enjoyed Orange Beach, Alabama. You enjoyed Tampa. Maybe you didn't go to Fort Lauderdale because that's kind of East Coast people. You liked a little Pensacola, right? The white trash in me loves Pensacola. Sun's out, guns out. So we'll wrap it up with special session, veto session. Look, I think the House is. I think you've seen some folks in the House saying that, damn it, you're not going to override the governor for no reason. Good for them. Now you've seen some people in the Senate say they're not going to do it anyway. So there you are. Then I think you've seen. You've seen on the back end some negotiations. They're closer than they were. I don't know how this works. I think probably what happens is at the end of the day, they break down and Lincoln, who probably does, people do believe his bluff. He says, well, I'm filing a bill and going to the Senate floor and trying to pass this. And if you think it, when I get done, if you think it's a good bill, I hope you'll take it up and pass it too. And that he'll have his bluff on. If he gets, it's like buying a car. Negotiations. If Lincoln gets up to leave like he's not buying the truck, the salesman probably is like, he's probably leaving. I better give him my best deal. I think he would have his bluff in on folks to where if he got up to leave, my gut tells me they would be like, okay, here's our best offer. Whether that's good enough or not, we have no idea. Probably too soon to tell, but we'll see. I think there's also nothing wrong with the governor calling a special session over a topic and the Senate crafting their bill, and there's nothing stopping the House from crafting their own bill. And then the two go into conference and see if they can work it out. I think they can look everybody in the eye and say they did their best. I think I'll give you my last side of knowledge prediction. If this gets done, it will be because Dean Plocker put in the hours, and I mean hours, of work to bring together both sides. And I think he's got the credibility financially that people take him seriously. And I think if this deal happens, it will be because Dean Plucker's force of nature made it happen. Check out the show this week. Tony Luchtenmeyer is on the show for live from the state capitol in Jeff City. We will see you. I'll probably come back maybe even Wednesday here, but if I don't, I for sure will see you Sunday on This Week in Missouri Politics.